Hello and welcome to the show. With me today, with me, Gillian Gotzel, I have Dr. Amber Ghaddar. Am I pronouncing your surname right? It is Ghaddar?
Ghaddar,
Who
yes.
is the founder and CEO of AllianceBlock. Now, I have met Amber before.
Co-founder of AllianceBlock.
Co-founder, sorry. I met Amber before and we were on a panel together in London, and very interesting woman. Thank you so much for coming on this show. What's really, really interesting is that I went back again today to look at your CV. Oh my goodness, you have degrees coming out of your ears. So you have like a BSc, but you have 3 masters, and you have a doctorate. I mean, and the masters are in neurosciences, microelectronics, and nanotechnologies, international business, and then the PhD is in molecular medicine.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's all connected. Don't worry.
I'm like going, wow. So I presume you loved academia.
I did. Both of my parents are doctors. My mom is one of the most brilliant person I know. She's 10,000 times smarter than me. She always had a huge library and always encouraged us to read since a very young age. And I remember she had this science collection, which was it was a collection from the 50s, and there was maybe 50 books on different subjects, on geology, on astronomy, on everything, insects, animal, whatever. And I remember reading this selection going like, oh my God, there's so many things to learn, and it was very exciting. When I was young, it was a very exciting period of my life because, when you're young, you can accumulate information very easily, much easier than now, trust me.
What about my age? I'm doomed.
I was very lucky to be a quick learner. And I wanted to go into science because this is what my parents were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was very interested in the brain, so that was my focus for a while. And then I'm a big fan of Isaac Asimov, and so I was very interested in robotic as well. And this was the period when nanotechnology were starting to come up. And so I did a master's in microelectronic and nanotechnologies. And my goal at the time, like every child, was to be able to create memories in the brain. And so I was working on a project that was to build nanoelectrodes it was for brain surgery, but it was, the first step in. So I've worked on that. And then
I have to interrupt you. I don't think every child's dream is to create memories in the brain. I think that could be a bit different to most ordinary people.
But I'm an avid sci-fi reader, so I read all of the classics, and yeah, for me it was like, yeah, at the time we still had CDs, right? So I wanted to create like a sort of CD where you can save and load memories. And then of course it became a little bit more particular, because I was like, okay, well, when I started learning about neuroscience, well, obviously you can't have a CD in your brain. Mm-hmm. So the idea was like to create memories, but yeah.
Wow. So a huge academic career and 2 masters running concurrently, and then the PhD in sciences. But then when you got into working, you didn't work in the sciences, did you? Or did you?
Yeah, so actually my PhD was a big failure because the results were very bad. It was absolutely against the thesis that I had. It was very frustrating because it was 5 years of work, including the masters. And so I decided to go to business school because I wanted to create a biotech at the time. And when I was in business school at HEC, we were forced to do an internship, a long-term internship. And a friend of mine, I think his name was Nihil, he advised me to apply to Goldman. I didn't know anything about banking. And he gave me a list of the top 10 banks, and he's like, apply for internship there. I remember going on the Goldman Sachs website, because that was the top one on the list. And I spent maybe, 2 hours writing the application. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm not gonna, it's enough. It's not for me anyway. And then I got an invitation for an interview, and I got an internship there, and I loved it. I loved it. And this is how my career in finance started.
It's cool because you went on and you were a bond trader with JP Morgan. So, you know, you again, and I'm not surprised given your academic past, you jumped very high up the career very quickly, even though it was a new area for you.
Yes, correct. I was very lucky because I was quite, like even in the bank, they didn't know where to put me because, I mean, I was good, but I was quite, I think, different from a lot of people. And so I started in research, and then I moved to sales. And then when I was in sales, they told me, you're not really a salesperson. So I moved to structuring, and then from structuring I moved to trading. And then I was like, okay, fine, now I want to be able to open my wings and fly by myself.
Wow. So you're the co-founder of AllianceBlock, but I want to just talk, before we talk about what it's all about and the background, I just want to talk a little bit about, you were in Davos in 2018, and you wrote a blog post about it. So
2019.
2019. Oh my goodness, yeah, sorry, this year you were there. And you wrote a blog post about the old timers who compared 2019 with 2018. So perhaps could you talk us through a little bit about what the feeling was between 2019 and 2018?
Well, I wasn't there in 2018, but first when I arrived, I was very surprised because there were a lot of side events, and most of these side events were focused on blockchain. Mm-hmm. And then I was speaking with my friends, and they told me, oh, last year, you should have seen last year, there were like Bitcoin millionaires everywhere on the promenade. And this year it was, 2019 was quite different because there were much less of these people because of the crash. But there was quality projects. So blockchain was still very central, but you had less, flashing your cash and more trying to find real applications to the technology. I personally found it amazing. I think it's one of the only conferences where everyone is business focused. Every time you meet someone, immediately they ask you, what do you do? And you exchange business cards very easily. And it's not like, usually you go in conferences, you introduce yourself and you try to see and guess if there's any matches. At Davos, it's very business focused. Okay, what do you do? I do this. Okay, no match. Enjoy yourself. Pleasure meeting you. But then you move to the other person and everyone is expected to do that. I found this very refreshing because it allows you not to waste time. But also an interesting thing, there was a lot of the main leaders were missing. And they were missing because you could feel already that the world is going through a change. And this change is translating into, Brexit in the UK, Trumpism in the US, yellow vest in France, the rise of nationalism. And there's a real worry. You could see there was a real worry that something is wrong. Something is fundamentally wrong. And personally, I think it's because we didn't really recover from the 2008 crisis. You see us, we're poorer than our parents in terms of assets, right? Just look at the UK, the price of housing, etc. It's very difficult to make an honorable living, even if you have a five-year degree, a master. Now, imagine people who don't have this chance of having a master education. So that's what's creating a lot of angst in young people, and old people the same. And this is why we're seeing this, in my view, very dangerous change that is going through the world at the moment.
Wow. I totally echo your sentiments. We're singing from the same hymn sheet. So you were in Davos. Before we got into the meat of the matter here for this interview, you had some interesting moments, did you not?
Interesting?
You had some quirky moments and meetings in Davos.
Oh, yeah. We ran through Bill Gates on the promenade. It was after one of the parties. We saw the CEO of Goldman Sachs mixing. That was a funny one. They were like, yeah, met a lot of interesting people,
And Matt Damon, I think was there too.
Oh yeah, the elevator. Yes, there was Matt Damon coming out of an elevator with Mary, actually.
No way. That sounds cool. Okay, sorry, that was a little bit of a flippant thing. So we were talking though that the world is changing. Young people are anxious. It's not, we haven't recovered from the crash, and we know that very firmly. I'm speaking from Ireland because we're the fastest growing country in the EU, but we're not really. We are facing the same issues that modern children nowadays, or the young adults. They're poorer than their parents. There's something wrong with the world, which brings me on to, you are viewing the world quite differently now, and you coined a term, I think, or you certainly use a term, participative capitalism. Can you explain where that comes from and what it means?
Well, during this period, I tried to understand, what went wrong, all right? And I did like a quick overview of history, and I understood, okay, communism doesn't work. Capitalism is clearly not working, but capitalism is, in my view, the solution. But the version of capitalism that we have now is non-functional because money begets money, right? Yeah. Money is going to those who already have money. You're a company with a lot of assets. It's easy for you to get a loan from a bank, even if your business plan or your business model is shit. You're a person who is rich. Even if you failed in all of your businesses, it's easy for you to get a loan from the bank. But capital should flow to those who can deliver the longest terms return. It's investing in people as much as investing in businesses. And this is something that we don't see. And this is why participative capitalism came to me, where you say, number one, people need to be incentivized. There's no good goodies, yeah? People are not inherently good. Everyone wants a reward. So you need to find a model where people are incentivized to help one another. And the model we came up with is participative capitalism, where, well, at least from a finance perspective, people are ranked not based on how much money they have or how big their portfolio is. They're ranked on what their performance is and how correct their insight and their knowledge is. So you end up with a sort of reputation score for investors that is based on a quantitative component, which is the performance of the portfolio, and a qualitative component, which is based on how correct their insight were, how helpful they are to the community. And the higher your reputation score is, the more influence you have on the system. And of course, it goes up and it goes down. So everyone is incentivized to keep working on the quantitative part, but also on the qualitative part. And we think that with such a system, we will be able to allow for the flow of capital to go to the best people, but also the flow of knowledge and experience to help them make sure that the companies are successful and are growing in the correct direction.
Wow, that's a very powerful view. And it's interesting because you're right, it flips things on its side. Just because you have money doesn't mean you get more money. And it actually allows evaluation of an individual based on how they are producing. And that it makes sense, capital should flow in that direction. So AllianceBlock, how does that take that theory and make it into a project and a practice?
So we're building a decentralized finance ecosystem. And this will be founded, of course, on a digital investment bank with a decentralized capital market and augmented collective intelligence with a strong focus on sustainability and impact. So when I speak about augmented collective, if you look at an investment bank, you can imagine that it's an image that is made out of puzzle pieces that are very complex. And there's at least 1,000 puzzle pieces. But it's just an image. We can recreate this image with a couple of blocks, a couple of squares. And this is what we're doing. So we're building a decentralized capital market. Then we replace the advisory in investment banking with the augmented collective intelligence, and this is what this is where the reputation score comes in. So in a way, you decrease the number of intermediaries, so you decrease the numbers of bankers and advisors, and you just put the people or the entities that have skin in the game, the investors and the companies. So the investors are rated, they have their reputation score, they're the one who will do the valuations, they're the one who will decide whether or not to invest in a company based on this reputation score. And all of the votes and all of the data that is inputted by these investors is weighted by this reputation score. Meaning, let's say you're a specialist in wind turbine, so this is knowledge, right? You have a very good quantitative score, so your portfolio has been performing very well, and you have been giving very good advices. And then you have another person, for example, who has a lower quantitative score, and who's a specialist in, let's say, glass factories, right? Both of these people are going to vote. You would expect the person with the pure reputation score higher to have more influence. No, it will be the person with the glass experience, knowledge and experience that will have a higher weight if we're rating a glass factory.
Okay.
Because he has more of this knowledge. Now, if we take all things being equal, let's say now you have an investor with a very high reputation score based on all of the different elements, and one with a medium investor score, and both are voting on a company that has nothing to do with their business. Still, the one with the higher reputation score will have a higher weight when he votes or when he's going to give an advice or provide data to this company versus the one with the lowest or lower reputation score.
And how are these ratings worked out? Is it backed by AI, or how do you? Because it sounds quite complex.
It's an AI. It's quite a complex system. It's AI based. It's collective intelligence based as well, because not only so the AI will look at quantitative and also at qualitative data, but there's also the votes of the community. How many people follow this person or have positive reviews of this person, that also affects and ends up affecting the score. So you have the collective intelligence part and you have the AI part.
And
that's why we call it augmented collective intelligence.
Okay, and who is the community?
So it's investors, it's companies, it's all of the stakeholders of the system. It could be experts, it could be you and me, but for example, let's say if it's me and I have zero experience in finance and I just go into the system, my reputation score is going to be very, very low. So when I vote on a project or vote on a person, it will have a very minimum effect because I haven't proven myself yet. And this is where you see that you need to prove yourself. You need to keep working on the quantitative aspect, i.e. on your investments, but also on the qualitative aspect, i.e. the insight. If you say, 10-year rates are going to be higher in a 3-month time, and actually 10-year rates move higher, then the system will remember that you said that, and your score goes up because you gave a true insight.
Okay. And finally then, Amber, where are you on the roadmap? Are you in beta? Are you live? Are you in dev?
We have so as I said, there's like a couple of modules for the whole system. Right now, next week actually we'll be releasing the regulatory and compliance protocol with an equity issuance platform. We're hoping that by end of next year we will have the full infrastructure in place. And as you can guess, building a digital investment bank, especially based on this vision of what finance should be, is not an easy thing. So what we're doing right now to allow for revenue generation is actually focusing on selling our infrastructures to the banks.
Ah, that's a turnaround. And what will the banks use them for? Your infrastructures?
the regulatory and compliance protocol is great.
Oh, okay.
It's a protocol that sits on top of the infrastructure of a bank, and it can decrease cost between 50 to 70%, depending on the banks when it comes to regulations and compliance. So this is one use case. You have the issuance platform. It's a second use case for banks.
That's clever. Very, very clever. And I like it too as well. You're not just relying on a big fundraise. You're producing product already and you have the knowledge to do it. Wow. Congratulations. I shall be watching this space very closely indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. That's Dr. Amber Ghaddar, who is a co-founder and CEO of AllianceBlock. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.